So, lots of stuff going on today. You know, of course, this is provincial budget day. We're going to have full coverage starting once they get out of the lockup, the reporters, which is at around 4 o'clock this afternoon. We'll have an update, then we'll have analysis from the Canadian Taxpayers Federation later in the show as well. But I want to get to this story, which has been in the news all morning long. Jason just had this. It is the top news story. Montreal police today, early, confirming the arrest of 63-year-old Emile Benamor. If the name sounds familiar, it should. He was the owner of that Old Montreal apartment, the one that caught fire, literally 3 years ago to the day almost, right? March 16th, 2023. And he has now been charged with 7 counts of involuntary manslaughter. 7 people died in that fire, and 8 counts of criminal negligence causing injury. He's expected to be arraigned later today at the Montreal courthouse. Now, when I first heard the story, my initial reaction was, I can't believe it's taken 3 years just to get to this point. That seems like an awfully long time. But then I thought, because I know so little about the law, if you're going to charge this person, who's not being charged with arson, by the way, for starting the fire, but he owned the building and he was arrested. And I thought, is that unusual? So I wanted to reach out. Eric Sutton, who's joining us from time to time, including yesterday, by the way, is a criminal defense attorney here in Montreal, and he's graciously agreed to come on and just try to answer that question. Mr. Sutton, first of all, thank you for coming on. Am I wrong in wondering why he was arrested for this as opposed to simply being charged and then showing up later for a court date?
Well, I guess this was a very complex investigation. I mean, many people died. There were numerous allegations about neglectful maintenance of the building, and I guess one would have to look at each aspect of the issues of security within the building individually, and then cumulatively to see if there's enough to suggest that because of that, several people died who might not have died or likely would not have died had the building been properly maintained. I don't want to assume that the building was not properly maintained, and I don't want to assume that the prosecution can prove that there's a direct correlation between issues of security within the building and the deaths of these people. But the police did their work diligently. It took a long time. The building was virtually a total loss, so it's hard to really piece together what happened, reconstruct the whole scenario, and then it gets submitted to the prosecution, to the Crown's office, and then they have to go through all the evidence and determine what charges, if any, should be laid. So the process was long indeed, but I've had clients who were charged even many years after events. It's not so surprising.
Is the surprising part, and I'll let you go, the fact not that he was charged, and I understand it's a very detailed and lengthy investigation, but the fact that he was actually arrested, is that because manslaughter is involved in here, or is he at risk of fleeing? Why would the arrest be necessary?
That's a good point. They should have warned. I guess they want to impose very, very strict conditions. If you proceed by way of summons, you're limited in the types of conditions you can impose. If you proceed by an arrest warrant and the individual is detained and appears in court detained, the prosecution can propose release, but on very, very strict conditions, or the court can impose very strict conditions. They may, in fact, insist that he relinquish management of his other buildings and leave it with a trustee. It could be the conditions could go as far as that. So I guess, yeah.
One of them being not leaving the country, perhaps. I mean, I'm kind of speculating here, but obviously the arrest is the serious part.
I don't think he would be seen as a flight risk. It was well known that this case was under investigation, criminal investigation. He's been around. He's remained in Montreal. I don't think there's a fear of flight. I think it might have been more the severity of the conditions that they may want to impose if he's released.
All right. I thank you so much. I appreciate the time again.
Again, my pleasure.
Eric Sutton, Montreal criminal defense attorney. So that answers the question. So they have more, I guess, in terms of conditions they can set once he's been arrested than simply having been criminally charged, I guess.